What's up, everybody? Joe Carlton here with the High Stakes Week 15 reaction show on the Fantasy Savvy channel. I'm joined tonight by Joey Brown, Josh Bolin, and Dan Jewett, the same usual crew. Sorry there was no intro tonight. I couldn't bear watching Josh Allen highlights after this weekend, so I bypassed the introduction music with all those highlights. Like I mentioned to Steve already once before, we got to do something about the intro. If we can, maybe get Drake May throwing the block for Trevion Henderson downfield while he was going for his 65-yard rushing touchdown this week. That would be a good one to put in there, And then you can mix in Josh Allen too. At that point, I'll just deal with the Josh Allen highlights. At least I'll feel better with having a Patriot in there. But as you can see, I'm bitter about that loss. But yeah, how you guys doing this evening? How'd your Week 15 go at all? Any good news to report?
We're on to Week 16.
Nice. I had a couple teams do good. 172 points with one, 166 on another. So I'm not out of contention yet. I think 148th and 170th overall in the online championship shootout. So not ruled out. Obviously I would like to be closer to the top. I think I want to say I'm 66 points from first place going into tonight's games. So it is a deep that's a deep cushion in the first week. But one thing I noticed this week, guys, is there were a lot of high scoring teams. I looked at the leaderboard. There was some 235s, some 220s, 206. So I think it was overall a high scoring week. So maybe week 16, week 17 is a little bit different, but all the points were scored in the first week. I know last year or the year before, I actually recall better. The year before, it was week 16, the second week, where all the points were scored. Amari Cooper had like a 51 or something. If you had it. Yeah. So there were this first week there were a lot of points scored. There were monster performances. Trevor Lawrence, Kyle Pitts, Amon-Ra St. Brown, probably those were probably the three best performances. But all around there were some good ones. We're gonna cover that. We're gonna go quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. We're gonna note all the good performances. We'll also note some of the disappointing performances. But before we do that, we're gonna start off with the injury report, and we always go to Dan for this because he's always prepared with the injury list. So Dan, why don't you break down some of the Week 15 injuries for us?
How long is this show?
Up until kickoff? Oh, you mean on all the injuries?
This is what I wrote down. I did it by position. If you guys got something I missed, please yell out. But start off with Patrick Mahomes. He got eliminated yesterday. At the same time, he tore his ACL. So that's a tough time of the year for that. Be a late start to next season. I just saw a few minutes ago Jaden Daniels is shut down for the year. So that just came through on my app. A good amount of running backs. RJ Harvey, ribs, didn't come back. Woody Marks, ankle, didn't come back. Tootin Finger, I didn't look, but I don't think he came back.
Devin surgery. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
He had surgery, but they think he'll be back for the playoffs.
Okay. Devin Neal, hamstring, was having a nice start to the game too. Bam Knight, another Cardinal running back down. He had an ankle. P. Wright had an ankle. A weird one I thought watching that last night game, Javonte Williams was out early, I think late first quarter, and didn't come back in at all. And then all of a sudden Malik Davis got hurt and he was back and he looked great. So I don't know what the injury was. I just wrote down his name, but he's back. Wide receivers, the biggest one, Devontae Adams. We saw the hamstring re-aggravation. Not a doctor, but from what I see, I would think he's done for the rest of the year. We're probably seeing him again in the playoffs. Kind of reminds me of Mike Evans a couple times there where he re-injured that. Puka also left that game, but he came back just a few plays later. I don't have any of Dunze, but for those that do, I apologize. He got hurt, he re-aggravated his injury at 12:57. So hopefully you got him out of your lineup before 1 o'clock. A couple smaller ones, Lockett, Noah Brown, both had injuries. And then I know we're talking fantasy offense, but you have to feel for the Packers and Micah Parsons towards ACL yesterday. That's a heartbreaker. And then TJ Watt with the Tyrod Taylor freak accident there with the collapsed lungs. That's another blow for Pittsburgh defense. But guys, I don't know if I missed any there. That's just what I wrote down from memory yesterday.
I think Luther Burden is questionable with the ankle injury this week.
Yeah,
we talked about that. And then somebody else, Christian Watson. Not sure exactly what his
yeah. I'm a little bit concerned about him because, excuse me, he's like one of those guys that if he's questionable, he's almost not going to give you the same performance as if he was fully healthy, put a couple of good weeks together, and he had momentum going. I'm going to definitely, I have him in a couple of spots, and I'm going to be very afraid to put him in the lineup. I'm hoping, thank God, I think in a couple of the spots I do have options, but I'm concerned about Christian Watson, his performance level going forward. Even if he does find the way to get on the field, once he's hurt, man, does he worry me. But yeah. Good point, Joe.
However you look at it, a lot of starting pieces there that we just talked about. 10 or 12 guys that are in flex and running back 2, wide receiver 3 spots.
Yeah, and it hurts even more if you're in leagues with frozen waivers once the playoff starts, because now you can't do nothing about it. This is why a couple of weeks ago when we had our show going into the playoffs, we talked about adding a third quarterback, adding a third tight end, because roster's locked. You need to prepare your entire 20-man roster, to do battle for 3 weeks because, shit happens. And Joey, I know you brought up a team you saw on the list that had Daniel Jones and Patrick Mahomes with their 2 quarterbacks. Right now, they're shit out of luck unless they put in for that third quarterback, and who knows if they did or not. But this is why you do. This is why you want to have your teams prepared.
And that's the beauty of the leagues we play in. I'm not knocking any other platform, but you can have that extra spot because the team kicker in the NFL, so you don't have to carry 2 when they freeze up. But team kicker gives you a lot of flexibility to carry a third quarterback or another tight end or whatever you choose based on
Albert says Bam Knight got hurt. I think you mentioned Bam.
Yeah, he mentioned him.
Yeah, he had
what about did you mention Pearsall?
I did
not.
He
aggravated his toe, didn't he?
He rolled his ankle and aggravated his
PCL,
his knee injury. So, yeah, he's
the Christian Watson in San Francisco.
Yeah, great call.
Nice. All right, so why don't we get into some of the biggest fantasy football performances of the week? We'll go position by position. We'll start with quarterback. We'll also talk about some disappointing performances from your starters. So I guess I'll start it off with the big guy, the guy who scored the most points, Trevor Lawrence. NFFC scoring has 6 passing points per touchdown. So with that being said, he gave us 57.6 fantasy points. If you play standard 4-point passing touchdown, that'll be 47.6 because he did throw for 5 passing touchdowns. He had 330 passing yards. They took advantage of an inferior Jets defense and terrible the last few weeks specifically. I mean, terrible all year, but real bad the last few weeks. It was good to see Brian Thomas get involved. He had a good game, scored a touchdown. I always said this about Trevor Lawrence. As terrible as a NFL quarterback he can be, he always finds ways to score fantasy points. And Jacksonville's defense, I feel like they allow a lot of garbage points. I think in the low score and close games, their defense stays pretty stingy. But once the games get once they put up a big lead or they fall behind, once the score and deficit is too big, their defense kind of opens up a little bit. I don't know. It's just an observation I've made this season about the Jaguars defense. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, I mean, if you had him in your starting lineup, you're probably sitting pretty. I mean, that's how you get these teams up in the 200s. Man, you get one guy that gets 57. Now you just need a decent finish from everybody else, and you're pushing 200 points easily. I mean, so he was a big X factor this weekend in the shootout if you played him. He was only started in 47% of NFFC leagues. So those few cashed in for sure. We'll kick it over to you, Joe. You want to talk about a quarterback's good or bad performance?
Well, I'm going to have to give a shout out to C.J. Stroud. He's starting to play pretty good with Dalton Schultz and Nico Collins. He had 260 and 3, and he's got the Raiders next week, so he could be a difference maker. And then he's got the Chargers to finish it out. So C.J. Stroud, he looked pretty good. He played well.
Nice. Good point. I like how you brought up the opponent. I forgot to mention that about Trevor Lawrence. This upcoming week, he's at Denver, so much tougher matchup. And then week 17 is also at Indianapolis, which is also a pretty tough matchup, especially in Indianapolis. Their defense plays pretty good. So I wouldn't be expecting the 50-plus points. But like I said, man, Trevor Lawrence always finds a way to score fantasy points, whether it's garbage time or – because his team's falling behind or he's playing against weaker competition and he puts up a big chunk lead. But yeah, just to add to that. But go ahead, Joe.
Honestly, if Stroud can keep this up, if Nico stays healthy and Schultz, Woody Marks, he can't hardly stay on the field, bless his heart. But that defense, they're sneaky in the AFC behind the Patriots and the Bills. Those are the two, I think, too. But now, you don't know what Herbert you're going to get. But now, Houston's kind of sneaky.
Nice. I like that call, Joe. C.J. Stroud is he had a great matchup this week.
That's what it's about this time.
Yeah, and he took advantage of that. Would he end up with 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions? He was
260 yards.
Yeah.
10 yards rushing. That's
32 fantasy points in NFFC scoring. It's got good matchups going forward.
Yeah.
Albert's asking us if we're trusting Trevor Lawrence against the Broncos next week. If I'm been platooning Lawrence with somebody else, I'd be considering the somebody else. Not gonna lie. But I mean, I guess in fact, if you want to you got to factor in your the matchups of all the quarterbacks that you have and make the best decision. I would only toss him in there for sure unless only in necessity. I mean, I would definitely see what the rest of my quarterbacks look like and go from there.
And also to add to that,
appreciate you tuning in, man. He says, "What's up, fellas? I'm up 31 in PPR. I have Waddle, and my opponent Pete Nova has A-Chain and DK. Do I win?"
Based on which kicker he's got.
That's going to be close.
He's a kicker guru, man. He's awesome.
Man, I'm gonna say you squeak it out, Hoff. I think it holds by 5.73 points to be exact.
How many birthday touchdowns will DK get tonight? His birthday, I think, was yesterday. Oh. So does Ken Rodgers get him in the end zone? That's a tough one.
It depends what kind of mood Tua's going to play in. Him being in cold weather, he don't usually play good in cold weather. So we'll see. It may be A-10 all the way. But you don't really have to have a lot out of Waddle at 31.
Albert says Devontae Adams is week to week. He might be done. I think they might shut him down until the playoffs.
I knew he probably wouldn't play this week, being on Thursday night.
I think that they should probably play that as safe as possible because they're still going to make the. I don't see them losing out and not. I mean, they're going to be in the playoffs. Matt Stafford having an MVP like year.
That's just more work for Kobe Parkinson.
Let's jump over to Josh. Any quarterback you want to talk about, good or bad?
I'd like to talk about a quarterback in Western New York, but I won't. Talk about Bo Nix. I mean, he.
I want to know when he's going to drop 40 points. How do you sniff that up?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like he's hit and miss. The Broncos aren't super sexy, but man, they just keep winning. And I don't know. I would just like to see some consistency out of him, but throw up a 40 points this week, and I don't know. We didn't have him going, but would like to have.
And it was through the year too. 300 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Only had 10 rushing yards on 7 attempts. It's all through the year against a good defense too.
Good defense, yep.
That's what kills you. He has got the tap. That's what I told Joe all draft season, and he knows it. I wanted Bo Nix everywhere, and I take the L on that. If he would be consistent, like Josh said, he's got the offensive guru behind him. If he would just unleash him, I mean, he's got the weapons. He could put up good numbers. That's what I was going to say a while ago. Back to the Trevor Lawrence question: which Bo Nix are you going to get? If he's putting up points like he was, Trevor Lawrence is going to have to throw. The game script. It just depends on what Bo Nix you're going to get.
This is true. I mean, I thought I actually picked the Packers in my pick'em pool to win that game. I didn't expect Denver's offense to look as good as it did, and it did. I think you guys think RJ Harvey being the main primary running back has anything to do with the offense hitting the ceiling?
It's hard to say because I don't know.
Go ahead, Joe.
All I was going to say is, Peyton, he uses so many running backs. I mean, you don't really know. It's surprising he's not brought anybody else out there, with Harvey.
Nice. I don't think they're using Harvey right at all. I wrote him down as my running back to talk to. Like, why do they keep running him up the middle? Why don't they use him on the outside and in the passing game more? Like, his potential is so much more than what they're doing right now.
Nice. There we go. Thoughts on RJ Harvey. Dan, you got a quarterback you want to talk about?
Well, you guys took 3 good ones, so I'm going to give you 2 bad ones, or 2 below average. Josh and I have one prime time in the shootout, so we went back and forth probably 45 times via text, phone call, in person this week between Drake May and Dak Prescott. And Drake May was our quarterback all year, really carried us. We've been playing Dak the last few weeks. He's been hot, so we settled on May, which ended up being the right choice. But Josh was heading to my house. He got there about 1:10. When he walked in, I high-fived him. Drake May had a 10-yard rushing touchdown for, I think, 8 or 9 points on the first drive. 2 drives later, Drake May rushes again. We go nuts. He's 21.2 points. He finished the game with 22.05 points, I think, and just absolutely shit the bed that second half. Was really disappointed in May, especially with what Josh Allen did coming back. Like, I was expecting 35, 40 points in the NFFC scoring. So sorry, Joe. I know that's your guy, but just disappointed there. And then
man, they got completely ass handed to in the second half. All aspect of the game except for Trevion. Take away Trevion Henderson and the team was
and that was part of it.
The worst second half I have ever seen, really. You
get the 2 long rushing touchdowns, and that just takes away from May yards and touchdowns. So that's part of it. But what do you guys think about the Cowboys and Dak? Like, they're done now. I mean, are they worth even playing anymore? I mean, you're going to play CD. I guess you have to play Pickens, but with Dak, like, we're going to be playing May every week now. I don't care about the matchup.
Right.
He looked like
that. And you know what's interesting, what you was talking about, Drake May? Because I remember talking to Joe back I won't say week 5, because I never could get Bo Nix and Drake May right. But, you know, in the 2 games in the regular season, he's not thrown one single touchdown against Buffalo. He didn't throw. He had 18 points the first week I used him.
They had like 3 rushing touchdowns that game too, if I remember right.
Yeah, the game plan against the Buffalo Bills is to run the damn ball. That's how you beat them. Not only do you is it their weak part of their defense, but you want to keep Josh Allen on the sidelines as long as you possibly can. You can't let him gain momentum. You see what happens when you let him gain momentum, especially in the second half. Not a good thing. And you need to be able to sustain drives, and that all starts with, you know, having a game plan to run the ball. So, New England's got Baltimore and the Jets the next 2 weeks, so pretty good matchups. It is in Baltimore, but
hopefully you get a good Lamar and put up some points, and then Drake May's going to do good.
I mean, is Baltimore still fighting for the division, so I expect that
they're interested in tonight's game. They need Miami to win.
Yeah, Miami should win that, hopefully.
So you know, I think Drake May over Dak going forward is a good call, guys, for you and Josh. I'm gonna let you start with the running back, since you did bad quarterback performance as well. If you want to talk about the best running back performance, or one of the best, you can. If you want to stay with the bad performances, you can too. But I'll let you start off the running backs.
We're gonna stay positive. We're gonna go with the number 1 running back on the week so far. It's on Josh and I's solo shootout team in the OC. Played this guy in my one and done league. I kind of was a little bit nervous there, and then I played him in DFS everywhere. But Travis Etienne didn't have the rushing day that I was expecting. I was expecting him to get a lot on the ground. Without looking, I think he had like 40 yards on the ground, but 3 catches for like 70 yards and 3 touchdowns. Man, they have figured out how to use Etienne at least for 1 week. Man, he looked great. He looked like the best running back. Probably helped that Tootin got hurt. But Travis Etienne with – what did he end up with? 31.5 points. And most people using him as a flex or running back too. So I know we've talked about him a few times. But what a great value there when we were getting him in 7, 8, 9 back in September. So he's your number 1 RB for the week so far. If A-Chain doesn't do it tonight, he'll probably stay number 1.
Nice. How do you feel about him at Denver and at Indy the next 2 weeks? You see him still be remaining involved in the pass game.
I would think they would have to keep him even more in the passing game. Like him and Strange next week could be the plays. Jacoby looks great, obviously too, but little dink and dunk maybe. Stay away from those cornerbacks.
Nice, Travis, Etienne. Josh, we'll kick it over to you. Give us a running back you want to talk about.
I know I'm probably stealing yours, Joe, but Travion Henderson, man, that dude, I love watching him run, and when he can, it's like it doesn't take him but like to his 3rd step, and he can hit full speed. He just blows the doors off people. So he had that long one yesterday. He did. Let's see here. He did 30.1 points in our NFFC scoring. But yeah, he's it's nice to get to see him getting to shine a little bit.
You want to know a pretty cool Trevion Henderson? It's actually a New England Patriots stat, but I think it directly has to do with Trevion Henderson. Patriots have 5 rushing touchdowns this year of 50-plus yards or more. They had 3 total from 2009 until 2024.
Wow.
Wow.
How's that for a crazy little stat there? Get that damn man the football. He's
Yeah.
the best running back. One thing I noticed is he did play a lot more than Ramondre Stevenson did. I think they Ramondre Stevenson is in there on more passing down plays because they trust him, in pass protection more than Trevion. But as far as being the primary rusher, I think Trevion has finally put Ramondre in the backseat a little bit, especially with these big plays. So I think we should feel good about Trevion Henderson going forward for sure.
Joe, didn't they just give Stevenson some money so for next year he'll still be there? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't see him going anywhere. They're not gonna. I don't see Trevion Henderson. I mean, I think he can handle it, but I don't think that they want to overwork him in that way. They don't. If Trevion Henderson were to go down, you see how easy it is for Ramondre to not be consistent week to week, if being the bell cow. They complement each other really well. Ramondre still is very good in pass protection, and he fits our system and what Josh McDaniels does. So yeah, I don't see him going anywhere. I just think it's gonna going into next year, it's going to be like kind of how Jahmyr Gibbs is taking a little bit more of the primary rushing role from David Montgomery, even though David Montgomery steps in and when he's called upon, he does what he has to do and, gets it in the end zone, gets that first down, gets those tough yardages when Jahmyr Gibbs seems to be stymied a little bit. So I think it'll work in a similar fashion, but Ramondre, he's the pass protector, so he ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, that's a good comparison to Detroit this year for next year, I think.
Henderson, what, a third-round pick next year?
Yep. I think you're spot on.
Nice. Joey, give us a running back, and I hope you pick the one that I want you to talk about.
I'm gonna talk about two in the same game, and especially with the injury on Thursday night. Kyron Williams and Blake Corum both's going to be – you can play both. I mean, sample size is starting to look a lot better for Blake Corum. I mean, he had 11 carries on 71 yards and touchdown, and Kyron got 2. So if Devontae Adams out, then, so I like those two. They may lean more on the run a little bit more. Not a whole – I mean, you're still going to let Stafford sling it around. Whoever that guy is right there, he's doing good in the prime time. I need to follow
Steve
him.
G.
Yeah, he was first and second there early on in the week 15.
Heck, we should have him on the pod and put him in Josh's spot.
As dumb as Vrabel is, he has to use them more going forward. Yeah.
What was that?
Put him in your spot, man. Let's bring him on the pod.
Nice. So I'll piggyback off your thoughts, Joe. I'll mention Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah, I started talking about him.
So you guys dubbed me the Devin Singletary whisperer and whatnot. Steve asked me before the kickoff Sunday if he should play Ramondre Stevenson or Devin Singletary in a spot, and I told him I worry for Devin Singletary because when they play a weak defense or a non-physical defense, kind of like the Washington Commanders, Tyrone Tracy is the primary back in those games. I think it's when they play the tougher, more physical defenses with good pass rushing is when you see more Singletary, because he, again, like Ramondre to Trevion Henderson, he is the pass protector for the New York Giants as far as the running backs go. Tyrone Tracy, Singletary can catch passes too. Not to take away say that Tyrone Tracy can't, but it's just I feel like when they're playing a tougher defense, it's a Singletary script, and when they play a weaker defense where they can get the run game going, they let Tracy gain his momentum. And I almost played him in the flex spot. I really wish I did. I'm trying to think of who I played over him. I think whoever I played over him only scored like 11 points. So obviously I could have had 14 more points. So he did give us a 24.7, 70 rushing yards and a touchdown, 3 catches, 27 yards and a touchdown. So he gave us 2 touchdowns, had a big game, took advantage of a weak Washington defense. And it's kind of what I expected. So I should have went with my gut and played him, but I didn't. Just because he is risky, his floor can hurt you at times, especially in a 3-week shootout. One bad performance can hurt you. So I didn't put him in. But shout out to Tyrone Tracy. Let's take a look at the matchups that he's got in the next 2 weeks. They got Minnesota and Vegas in week 17. So next week I would expect Singletary. I mean, they're both going to be involved, but I would expect Singletary to be involved to the point where I'm not going to trust Tyrone Tracy next week. But week 17 against Vegas, probably going to be another Tyrone Tracy week. That's kind of how I'm reading it. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with the entire take, but that's kind of how I see it as the Devin Singletary whisperer. But all right, so we'll jump over to wide receiver then. Dan, lead us off.
All right, I'll save the big game for somebody else. The number 2 scorer on the week, which honestly isn't a very high score for a number 2, but had a great week. Puka Nacua, 27.9 points. Didn't get in the end zone. Had one red zone target down there close, but ended up with like 180 yards, I think. Josh and I have him on our best team, so really watching him. It's going to be really interesting now. I think we all agree that Adams isn't going to be playing probably at least the next 2 weeks for our playoff run. Does that help Puka? Hurt Puka? I think Puka is just going to get littered with targets, but hopefully especially this week, he might draw double coverage or they're really going to have to focus on him. But Puka the last couple of weeks has looked like the guy again, so I'm really hoping for another high 20, low 30 score next week. Maybe he's kind of in his wheelhouse.
They're at Seattle. You worried about that at all?
No, and it's the Thursday night doom, but I mean, over under 15 targets. I mean, it might be over.
Yeah, it'd probably be right around that. Yeah,
you give him 15 targets, he catches 9 or 10. If he can score, he's got his 30 again.
Like Joey said, you're going to see a lot of the 2 running backs. I think you're going to start to see Corum and Kyron, and then some more Corum and Kyron.
All 19 tight ends that they have.
Colby Parkinson, yeah, we'll get to him when we get to the we'll talk about him.
Up Seattle.
Seattle's weak point is the tight end, so
all of them, like they said, all of them may do good.
With all that being said, Puka is such a high end talent that you're not sitting him on the bench in any league, on any team, any roster. There's just no way you're not putting them in your lineup. So definitely have to roll with Puka. He's got Seattle and Atlanta in the next 2 weeks, both on the road. Josh, we'll pass it over to you, man. Wide receiver.
All right. Let's see here. Who should we talk about? I mean, Jameson Williams. He was number 3 on the week with 26.4. He's had those couple of dud games since Dan Campbell took over the play calling, but there's definitely trying to get him more involved. I don't know what this means for next year. I'm not sure if they gave him money this past offseason, I think. Am I right? So JMO's locked in Detroit. But I think Dan Campbell's proven a point. He wants to see him more involved. get more targets, and he's taking the opportunity and stepping up. So, throw those couple of games out the window that he didn't catch a couple balls or whatever and put up a couple duds. Overall, the last 6-7 weeks has been really nice to have him.
Nice. Joey, wide receiver. I think we might go twice around for wide receiver. There's quite a few to discuss. So.
I'm going back to Josh's. We mentioned Bo Nix. Cortland Sutton is finally that guy that we drafted, and he's had 20 targets over the last 2 games. He's got the Jaguars and the Chiefs left. Then again, you got to get to consistent Bo Nix, but now he's had 20 targets. He had over the last 2 weeks. And he's finally becoming that number 1 like everybody drafted, and that's who they need down the stretch. He's got to be that guy.
And what about Troy Franklin? He had a pretty good week. 6 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. 20.8 fantasy points. Are we trusting him this upcoming week?
Depends on Pat Bryant, I guess. I mean, he was out with a hamstring, so I mean, he Franklin may have got the number 2 spot back. They still have the connection from back in Oregon, so that's.
Denver's got Jacksonville and then at Kansas City. For what it's worth, Kansas City now eliminated from playoff contention. Patrick Mahomes no longer at the helm, missing with the injury. Could we see the wheels fall off of Kansas City? I mean, we know they have a good defense at home. Does the entire team situation, is that going to take away from how effective the KC defense has been, or should we look at that as a normal matchup now? Final week of the shootout for Denver.
Well, Denver's still in the running for the 1 seed, right? Are they up by 1 game? So
yeah,
they're still battling for that, so they're still going to do their thing.
Yeah, sounds like a recipe. Sounds like a good recipe for Denver players, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And
nice.
There's nobody. Kansas City hasn't been here since Mahomes came into the league where they're not going to the playoffs. So, do they just fold up and get walked all over? I can't really imagine that. I think that Andy Reid's going to try to coach them up to, if they can't make the playoffs, let's play spoiler where we can or whatever. But not making the playoffs and losing your Superman in Mahomes is brutal. I mean, that's rough. So I don't know what they'll look like going forward.
It's Minshew mania time.
Minshew. I forgot they had him. I think I was listening to Sirius XM early this morning on the way to work, and somebody was talking about Minshew, and I was like, "Damn, I forgot they had him." Like, you don't ever hear about the backup quarterback in Kansas City anymore.
Right. It's like, man, like what? Like, obviously you see my stripes. I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan at all. But if Mahomes is going to go out and Minshew's going to come in, can we give him like a 1% chance of making the playoffs? Like, not completely eliminated, just to make it fun, just to see what Minshew can do. But
I'd love for them to roll out Brashad Smith a little bit now too. I mean, let's see what he can do. I mean, or does he really stink? Like, I want to know. I want the answers to Brashad Smith in the next few weeks for sure. Be nice.
Yeah,
he's been a mystery all year. Is it, like, you don't know, like, is how much time you need to develop. Like, at this point in the year, maybe he should be doing enough to get on the field. So. I think we're going to get the truth for sure in the next few weeks. So I want to bring up Chris Olave, wide receiver Chris Olave, another solid performance, 6 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Same exact stats as Troy Franklin, only he did it on 9 targets instead of 6. 20.5 fantasy points remains consistent with his volume. He did give us a bad week in week 14, 6 points, but I think, based on the Saints' upcoming schedule, they have the Jets at home and then at Tennessee in the final week. I think Chris Olave's wheels up over the next 2 weeks. I think he gives us I think he has a pretty damn good floor. I would say like a 16-point floor with the ceiling, depending on how many touchdowns he can catch. I think he's developing a pretty good chemistry with Tyler Shuck, and like I said, the easy matchups. The Jets just got beat up on. Tennessee's been bleeding points to the quarterback and wide receiver all year. So, Olave is I look for Olave to be a difference maker in these 3-week shootouts for sure. If you roster him, definitely feeling good about it. And Steve says hopefully Vele stays out. Yeah, I mean, it definitely does put a little ding, but I think, I'm trusting Olave. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Dan, we'll jump over to you, man. You want to give us another receiver, good or bad?
Yeah, I don't know whether to talk about Kevin Austin for the Saints or Darius Cooper for the Eagles. Like, they both outscored Justin Jefferson this week. So which one do you guys want to talk about? Because I bought into the Justin Jefferson hype this week. I thought he was going to come back. I played him in a couple spots. I mean, it's still tough to bench him, but 2 catches, 4.5 points. He did drop an end zone target. It was a tough catch, but one that he usually makes. But it looks like McCarthy's trying to get him the ball, but there's just something not clicking with those guys. So Josh and I were talking at some point yesterday. Like, I'm already on to 2026 thinking about some draft picks. Like, where does Jefferson go? Like 110, 112? Am I way off base there? But if he's with McCarthy, like, I need to see something before the end of the year.
In my opinion, him and St. Brown probably flip-flop ADPs from this past year.
Yeah, and I love Justin Jefferson. Josh, I will take him every draft, and it's going to be really hard to click that button next year on him if we don't see something different change.
Is he going to be the Jonathan Taylor running back, late 2nd round pick? I mean, it's possible.
I mean, he had a touchdown catch.
It's hard not to take him, but I understand.
He slipped the year before when we all thought Sam Darnold was going to be a downgrade, and Sam Darnold held him up. So
McCarthy's looked better. He's looked better the last couple of weeks. It's not great, but they looked good last night.
Yeah, he's been inconsistent. I think he needs time. Another handful of games under his belt might do him well. Another year, going into your 3rd year is when you're supposed to be hitting your peak as far as mentally approaching the game, being a professional, all that. It's when you put everything together. You take all the progress you've made in the first couple of years, and you factor in the experience that you've gained along the way in year 3. I mean, you should be able to put it all together one way or another. I know Donald and Baker Mayfield took a few more years than 3, but JJ McCarthy's in a good system, got a great head coach. Team's got a solid defense. Tough division for sure, but it's going to be he's going to have to hit. I would say that he's going to hit his ceiling in year 3, and I don't know if that's going to be good or bad, but I think we'll see the best out of JJ McCarthy in year 3. With Jefferson, Addison, maybe they can get on the same page, and figure things out, to be consistent.
And take a flyer on Jalen Naylor around 20 if it's McCarthy.
Right? Who was it? I think it was Dan that mentioned that a few weeks back. I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks ago on our show. Dan, you mentioned that Jalen Naylor is the wide receiver one in Minnesota.
Josh's boy loves to bet Addison and Jefferson. And every time he comes over to the house to watch football on Sundays, Jalen Naylor scores. And that kid, I swear, he tries so hard not to throw every cuss word in the room. But, he's like the Jalen Naylor anti-whisperer. So it's probably why I threw that out there.
Nice.
Yeah. Yesterday we were like, Jacob's not even here and Naylor's having a good game. Something's off. This is weird.
He can separate. I will say that. I mean, there's always these wide receivers that you take them off one team, put them on another team, and just to see how good they would be. And I feel like Jalen Naylor definitely falls under that listing.
Well, Joe, you said something though that I think is really important is that McCarthy has a good coach there in KOC. And yeah, he's a quarterback whisperer with some veteran quarterbacks. People just need to be patient. I'm frustrated with McCarthy as anybody else this year, but I think that he can show improvement in the offseason. They didn't have anything to work with from last year because he never got any live game experience. So, they're going to have a real long offseason, keep him healthy these last couple of weeks and have a good long offseason of work. And he'll improve next year. And Jefferson he'll be all right.
Nice. Who do we leave off on, Josh? I think you're up.
Yep, I'm up. What about? I know Dan mentioned this earlier, but the CD Lamb and the George Pickens moving forward with them. CD had 17 yesterday. What's the confidence level with those guys the rest of season? How do you guys feel about
Chargers this week? I don't know about 17.
It's, you got a guy
17 at Washington. So they got a great matchup in week 17. Chargers a bit more stingy against the pass. Dak, like you guys said, Dak looked terrible this past week. But go ahead, Josh. Sorry to cut you off there.
Oh no, you're good. I mean, we roll with CD all year. You figure out ways to jump through hoops when he was out for 4 or 5 weeks, and then it's like, all right, make it to the playoffs, and that's one of the guys you're wanting to lean on, and 17 points a week ain't gonna cut it, but it's still solid, still a solid day, but you're think looking for those mid-20s.
I don't know. With George Pickens there, I don't see CD Lamb hitting his 25-plus point ceiling all that often anymore. He's
killed him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think it killed him. He's still been pretty consistent. I mean,
so then on the Justin Jefferson comment,
but you draft
next year.
Yeah, you drafted him to be, you drafted him at his ceiling for sure. This year, where do we see him going? I still say he's in the first round. I think if he drop, he might be closer to the 1-2 turn this year.
Yeah. I guess
I'd still take CD over Jefferson.
Is that because Pickens isn't going to be there next year?
Oh, I don't know. Well, that's if Pickens is there.
That's a big
if Pickens isn't there, and it's just CD. I mean, we've seen what CD can do with all the volume. We've already seen this. He's given us wide receiver 1 years. Joe, that year you had you were in the top 10 at one point in the prime time. You had CD Lamb, right?
Yeah, I took him at 10. I think I took him at 10.
Was that last year or the year before?
2 years ago.
Yeah, we've seen what he can do. Being the main guy with the only guy, the alpha. No George Pickens to steal his number 1 role and command that type of a target share. But I mean, is giving us 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 consecutive weeks with at least double-digit fantasy points. So I mean, you're looking at a great floor either way. Just those big ceiling games, those multiple touchdown games. I think they go away with George Pickens and to an extent, Ferguson. He's been a really, really good red zone target, and I think that kind of hurts CD's ceiling as well. So I think you got to draft them more for a floor than a ceiling going forward. But we also don't know what the Dallas Cowboys offense is definitely going to look like going into 2026. So we got to take those thoughts with a grain of salt. But in the current situation, I think, expect a solid floor and a moderate ceiling as opposed to those big spike weeks that he's had in the past. Joey?
I'm going to mention the guy that I drafted, dropped, benched, added him back, Jalen Coker. 2 weeks in a row he scored. He was off week 14. So he's finally that guy that I drafted a long time ago that I was hoping for. But they got Tampa Bay in 2 out of the last 3 games, so for the division. So there might be some fireworks if you get to good Baker Mayfield. So, and Evans being back, that's helped. So I'm gonna say Coker. He's definitely took the number 2 spot, I think, over Leggett.
Yeah, I agree. I think Leggett now with Coker and Tet McMillan, I think out of the 3, if Leggett is to stay involved, I think Tet probably gets hurt the most, more there. I think Jalen Coker is even kind of I don't want to say overtaken Tet, but I think that Coker's more trust. I trust the Jalen Coker more than Tet McMillan going.
And they don't utilize the tight end much either for some reason. Sanders is a pretty good tight end. They don't use him, so it's really those 3 guys and Chuba sometimes.
Leggett's there to run block. He's, they have 2 great running backs, and Leggett is excellent blocking run blocker for a wide receiver, I should say. And that's how he ends up getting his snap share where it usually is. But I think Tet McMillan is the wide receiver that we got to worry about a little bit here. As far as inconsistency goes, I think Coker is going to be more consistent. Steve mentions in the chat he's probably the number 1. That's kind of where I was going with my thoughts as well.
Which McMillan needs him to be good too. That way he'll take off some of the double coverage too.
And these guys, they score a lot of garbage points too. They're not always playing with the lead. So, but how's the matchup look? Have you taken a look at Carolina's?
I know they got Tampa 2 out of the next 3.
That's pretty good because Tampa's offense scores points and their defense is capable of giving up points. And they got New Orleans this week.
Oh, okay.
So they got. Oh no, they just played New Orleans.
Yeah,
they got Tampa Bay next week at home. Oh, this week at home upcoming, and then Seattle at home in week 17.
At least in Carolina, that's a good thing.
Good call by Steve in the chat. Says Tet's saved by touchdowns. I've always felt he's been touchdown dependent. He hasn't garnered those alpha wide receiver 1 numbers yet. His targets have been there, I guess. But as far as the receptions and yards and spike weeks, he just hasn't shown it yet. So that's why I kind of lean Coker in the situation. I'm going to bring up one more wide receiver before we jump over to tight ends. I want to talk about Brian Thomas Jr. I think he's finally given us the results that we've been looking for. He's put together a couple of good weeks in a row, 13 targets in the last 2 weeks. This past week, he had 4 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. The week before that, 3 catches for 87 yards, making big plays. 143 receiving yards over in just 7 catches. So, he's making plays downfield. Jacksonville's offense has kind of been forced to put the foot on the gas. I do think, Denver and Indy, the matchups kind of suck, but I think that if you were lucky enough to get a Brian Thomas team into the shootout, and maybe you've been thinking about benching him and whatnot, I suggest against that. I think that you drafted him in the first round with the 1-2 turn. Maybe you got him in the second round, but you drafted him at the 1-2 turn. You did that for a reason. Trust in your studs. He finally looks healthy, and Denver is capable. If, like Joe, like you said, if you get a Bo Nix that's ready to score points, then I expect Jacksonville. To keep somewhat of a pace up. Jacksonville's no slouch of a football team. They do have a winning record, probably going to make the playoffs. They do. I believe they have a chance to win that division still.
Right.
So this game could be higher scoring. I don't know. I haven't looked at, did they set an over under yet? I'm not sure. But I think this game could be higher scoring than anticipated based on how good both defenses have been at times throughout the year, especially Denver's defense. But Brian Thomas is a guy that I'm trusting going forward if I have him in the fantasy playoffs. Yeah. Overall, Steve, it was a bad call. I took him. I wish I took him over Amon-Ra St. Brown in a lot of spots, and it was, I was taking Drake London over him. But if Drake London was getting picked and I was picking on that back end there, I was taking BTJ over St. Brown almost every time. That's bad. I want to say it's bad judgment. I mean, Brian Thomas had one hell of a rookie season, and St. Brown, is you're drafting St. Brown at his floor, but St. Brown's been great this year, so he's given us spike weeks. As you can see, this past week he scored 41.4 fantasy points, 13 catches, 164 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I don't think anybody talked about him, so I'll just throw his performance out there. 41 points, 18 targets, an absolute monster. And obviously you're not benching him. Detroit going forward, they have Pittsburgh and in week 17 at Minnesota. So Minnesota are a little bit of a tougher matchup, but he did have 9 catches for 97 yards the first time around against Minnesota at home. This one will be in Minnesota. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. I believe they're both inside. They're both domes, right? Minnesota plays in a dome. Yeah. So I think St. Brown will be all right. I don't think he'll give you a dud week in the next 2 weeks. I think he's fine.
Oh yeah.
And that's it. One more. DJ Moore. Is this smoke and mirror? Is this a mirage? Smoke and mirrors? What do you guys think? Like, he did good. Odunze. If Odunze continues to miss time, are we trusting DJ Moore in our fantasy playoff lineups?
Burden may be out too. You might have to.
Yeah, so I think just by default, we have to plug DJ Moore in there, right?
Yeah, him and Loveland.
He's better against the zone. I remember us talking about that a few weeks back than against the man. So especially if he's going up against a defense one of these next 2 weeks and it's zone coverage, he could really do well with those other guys out.
Big game this weekend versus Green Bay.
I think he put up a dud against them, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He only had 1 catch from -4 yards on 3 targets 2 weeks ago in Green Bay. This time it's in Chicago. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then week 17, they got at San Francisco. So yeah, I think if Burden and Odunze are gonna miss, then DJ Moore is gonna get. I mean, get the same amount of volume. He might get the more. He had 2 receiving touchdowns. I could see him being part of the game plan. The important parts of they're going to lean on him down near the red zone. He's going to have opportunities to make big plays. He's not just going to be schemed here and there. I think he's involved throughout the game. So DJ Moore, another guy I like going forward. Tight ends. Dan, why don't you lead us off? We want to talk. Should we just bring up Kyle Pitts? And
that's who I was going to talk about. I'm going to take the talk. My best team of anything I have going on right now is my Scott Fishbowl team, so pretty proud of that. Went very running back heavy with about 4 tight ends and grabbed Kyle Pitts on a flyer, and I've been struggling at my second quarterback, so I had Kirk Cousins. Left Thursday's game with 111 points. Scott Fishbowl scoring is obviously a little bit different, but Kyle Pitts in NFFC scoring 11 catches, 3 tutties, 166 yards, 45.5 points. That's what we've been expecting since the day he's been drafted. The guy is a freak athlete. I've been burnt so many times by him because I see this potential. He looked amazing. I'm going to leave it at that. Highest scoring tight end game in, I don't know what they said, 40 years or something like that.
Wow.
Just awesome game. Kirk Cousins looks for him. So put him in your lineups the next 2 weeks. Hope he does half that.
Great matchup next week at Arizona, and then week 17 at home against the Rams.
He's shooting up those 2026 draft boards already.
He got 30 targets in the last 3 games without Drake London being there. Don't know if he's going to make it back. So as long as London is out, he's getting that type of volume. He's a no-brainer plug-in play. If you had a decision to make this past week, if it was like Kyle Pitts or Mark Andrews or something, we hope you made the right decision, Deb. But there were definitely some Kyle Pitts teams that had a decision to make going into this week, and some of them made the right call, and I bet you there's some out there that didn't. So, it is what it is. Or you find a way to get both in there. If you have 2 good tight ends, if you have McBride and Kyle Pitts this week, and you happen to play them both, my God, you got yourself, 80 something, almost, it was like 81 points there, 45 and a 37. The top 2 tight end performers delivered this week with the 45.6 and a 37.4. Trey McBride, 13 targets, 12 receptions, 2 receiving touchdowns, 134 yards. One thing we notice about Trey McBride, 2025 Trey McBride, he catches touchdown passes, unlike the years prior. Him and Brissett have a great connection.
I like to refer to that as the Jacoby Brissett Trey McBride, not the Kyler Murray Trey McBride.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. We were worried about this Houston matchup to a degree. I mean, a lot of people were out on Michael Wilson, and he even gave us a decent performance. He's caught a touchdown. I think it was 6 catches for maybe 60, 70 yards in that ballpark and a touchdown. So, but Trey McBride, 12 catches, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, matchup proof. So I think that, this upcoming week he's got Atlanta, and then week 17 at Cincinnati. So he could be the biggest X factor of them all. He's probably going to be, despite Kyle Pitts and his 45 points. I think
scoring.
That's what I said. I was going to say he sees what the bar is. He's going to slam dunk it.
Man,
hold my beer, Kyle Pitts. I'm going to put up 50.
Trey McBride is a nice guy to have right now if you're in the 3-week shootout for sure.
Man, what if you had him with Brissett that last week? Whew.
You're dominating. I do have my auction team has Brissett and Dre McBride.
If you take a tight end that early, that's what you want. Like, he's put up consistently good numbers all year, and then you get to the playoffs, and bam, he throws out his best game of the season when he's already been capitalized. I mean, that's really for those guys to pay off in the second round. That's what you need to get out of him.
He would be wide receiver 4 right now if he was a receiver.
He might go 12 this year. He may go back in round 1.
Dan still won't let me draft him if he goes 12. We need him to drop.
Wait a minute. We took him over Bowers in the second round of one of those OCs. And everybody laughed at us when we did.
And I got picked on for it.
So there were a total of 6 tight ends that gave us 20-plus PPR fantasy points this week. We just talked about the top 2.
And likely gave us a 0.
Yeah, to round it out, we got Dallas Goedert, 25 points, 6 catches, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns on 7 targets. Colby Parkinson stepping up big time as the tight end 1 for LA. 5 catches, 75 yards, another 2 touchdown game. 4 tight ends scored 2 or more touchdowns. Pitts had 3. George Kittle gave us 22.8 fantasy points, 8 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. Dalton Schultz continues to be a beast with C.J. Stroud in that offense. Doesn't have a clear-cut number 1 wide receiver. Jaden Higgins is probably their top pass catcher, but he's not ready to be a bona fide number 1. So you got Dalton Schultz being involved. He's had a ton of targets every single week. Looking at his, he's got 9 targets this week against Arizona, 4 the week before that, 8 against Indy, 4 the week before that, 9, 11, 8, 10. He's given us 3, 4, 5, 6 games out of the last 8 weeks with at least 8 targets. And that's what you want from your tight end. If you're looking to trust a tight end, if you didn't draft one early, and you had Tucker Kraft and you lost Tucker Kraft at one point, you filled the void by picking up Dalton Schultz because I believe he was still available in leagues at that point. He's definitely filled the void. He's not giving you Tucker Kraft ceiling, but a solid floor nonetheless. Arizona is their matchup. Did I go over their matchups yet? The next 2 weeks. They got Vegas in week 16 and then the Chargers week 17. So one good matchup, one's kind of sucky matchup. But if I think the Chargers probably easier to beat underneath than against the cornerbacks. So maybe you can still provide a pretty good week in week 17 if you don't have any other options. But Dalton Schultz been key. I rounded out the tight ends just so we can jump on to Monday night props because we're getting close to kickoff if it hasn't already kicked off.
And one more position since Hoff is in the chat.
All right, go ahead, Joe.
Jason Myers.
I agree. He's
outscored a lot of people.
He was. I think he was on the team that I had that scored 172 points. I think he had 25.8, if I'm not mistaken.
I've seen some stat. He's outscored
26.3
Lamar Jackson over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
26.3 it's Seattle and Houston's kicker have been the top 2 kickers without question. Aubrey by default because he kicks all the long field goals. He only needs 1 or 2 field goals to hit his mark. Yeah. But and what about team defense? We may as well bring up the Ravens D led the pack with 25, Bears D 19, Eagles D 18. Eagles shut out the Raiders, I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah. Bears D, they beat Cleveland 31-3, so that was another good game. It was frigid temperatures. Those were the solid performers. Chargers, Jaguars, Commanders. Everybody else gave us basically an average week. So that's to round up the kickers and the defenses. Dan, we'll start with you tonight. who do you like? And give us a prop, one prop bet.
I'll make it quick. The game's already kicked off. Jalen Waddle's longest catch over under is 23.5. He's hit that over 5 of the last 6, 8 of the last 10. And the 2 he missed was like 22 and 16. So I'm going Jalen Waddle over 23.5 yards, longest catch. Lock it in.
Nice. Josh?
If Miami, who is historically bad in cold weather, if they're going to win tonight, Devon Etienne is going to have over 110 total yards.
There it is. What's the odds on that?
The odds on that was minus 114.
Nice. Joey?
I wanted to be 120, but I had to go to 125, and I didn't like that. So
Joey Brown.
I'm going Pat Fryermuth anytime touchdown at plus 425. Dolphins is bad against tight end, so hopefully he's the one that in the tight end group that gets it.
Who do you like to win the game tonight? Pittsburgh?
Miami.
Miami's gonna win. Okay, I think
Mike McDaniel's fighting for a job.
I'm leaning Miami myself, man. They've looked pretty good the last few weeks, the last like 3 or 4 weeks offensively. They feel like they've found the rhythm. My prop bet tonight, and just because it's a cold weather game, and Jalen Waddle's going to be dealing with the best coverage as far as the Steelers defense go. But it's between Darren Waller and Greg Dulcich. I think Darren Waller is your red zone target. He could end up having 1 or 2 catches with one of them or even both of them being a touchdown. We don't even know. But as far as the volume goes for tight end, I could see Greg Dulcich being involved in this game plan. I like him receptions and yards. I went with the yards. They were slightly better odds. Plus 25 receiving yards. I believe the odds I got him at on DraftKings was plus 144. I don't know what you guys got on FanDuel. I know, Josh, you put this parlay in on FanDuel. But I'm thinking Greg Dulcich is going to have a pretty good game tonight. I could see him getting 3 or 4 catches for close to right around 50 yards, close to 50 yards. And they might have to lean on him to get a couple of first downs. And I do think Miami squeaks it out. As historically bad they've been in cold weather games, they've also in the last 4 weeks are number 1 against the running back. So that kind of neutralizes Pittsburgh's offense. Aaron Rodgers not being 100%. If they can shut off Jalen Warren and Kenny Gainwell, if maybe they misuse, maybe Tomlin misuses them tonight. Maybe he doesn't use Gainwell enough. I think Gainwell would need to be part of the game plan if they're going to beat Miami. But I have my doubts that they're going to use him as much as they should. But we'll see. I mean, he has come up big for them in the past when relied upon. So if they decide they're going to rely upon Kenny Gainwell, then I think Pittsburgh will have a good chance of winning. But outside of that, I side slightly with Miami. Any other thoughts, guys?
Yeah, our buddy from last week, Gilbert, just texted me. He said, tell the guys I see a minimum of 3 touchdowns from DK tonight.
Nice. Did we mention Steve's leg? Steve has a leg, right?
Yeah, Steve has a leg.
He has a whole he has a whole parlay. Actually, he gave us like 3.
Yeah, he liked the Steelers at -3.
Okay, so there you go. Steve likes the Steelers -3. And that's it. That's all I got, guys. You got anything else to add? Go watch the game now.
Everybody have a good week.
Yeah, hopefully
we're on to week 16.
If you're relying on a Steeler or a Dolphin tonight to win you a playoff matchup, we hope you get there. We hope you have a great week 16 next week. We will be here same time Monday night next week, tomorrow night on the Sports Affiliation YouTube channel, which is my home station. We're going to have NFFC player Michael Gamberg on. We're going to learn a little bit more about him. We're going to do his fantasy background interview. And then I'm sure one of these fools here, one of these three or two, you maybe both want to come on. Anybody that wants to join for the second half of the show, we'll talk about some week 16. We'll give insights on week 16 and we'll discuss some of the games, the matchups in that week, which fantasy players we like better than others. Anybody that we don't like, we'll let you know to be careful with. You can catch it all on the Sports Affiliation channel tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Aces Up podcast. Other than that, that's all I got, guys. Good show. Shout out to everybody in the chat, everyone that's viewing. We got a lot of active live viewers right now. I won't say how many, but it's a lot. So we appreciate every single one of you. We hope that our advice and just talking about the fantasy football is helping you. And we wish you a great Monday night and a good week 16. We'll see you all next week.